Okay, page 26. This should be dollar clothing. The idea is clothing that is cheap. So like you sometimes in Taiwan we have like $10 stores or $100 stores, 10元店, 百元店, right? So something that's cheap. Surprisingly comfortable. This is describing the suits, right? So comfortable is an adjective, should be an adjective. And so surprising is describing the comfortable, so surprising should be an adverb. Surprisingly comfortable. Next one, easy to clean. This is one word. Easy to clean is one word. So it's describing the polyester. Polyester is a noun that means a kind of fabric. 人工布料. So if this is a noun, then this word has to be an adjective. So it's easy to clean. So this one is correct. Real varied colors is not emphasizing how varied they are. It's talking about the colors. They are real colors. Although I'm not quite sure what a fake color would be. But it means that the colors are real somehow. So it should be an adjective. That is correct. I guess it means like the dye that they use is real. 是真的染料 or something. I don't know. Next one, the office grind. This is also correct. The grind here means the rat race. The idea that you have to go to work or school every day, and the cycle is never ending, and like all of the like achievements and promotions kind of feel not very valuable. That idea. So the office grind is talking about the attitude of office workers. So it is a kind of grind. To grind is to pulverize. To pulverize is to turn something into powder, 让它粉碎. So it's describing office work like you're grinding something. So it's a kind of like undesirable work. So what kind of work is it? It is office work. So this word office is of course a noun, but it is a noun acting as an adjective. It's a grind. What kind of grind? It's an office grind. So this is correct. Bright describes scene, or you can say it describes club scene. Club also describes scene. Extreme describes bright. So this one should be extremely, should be an adjective, adverb. Extremely bright. Next one, a fast track jacket. I'm going to say yes, that's correct. I don't know what it means. A track jacket is it's a thin exercise jacket, 就是轻薄运动外套. But I don't know what it means to call that kind of jacket fast. But in any case, the grammar is correct. If you want to describe this kind of jacket as fast, you would use this word and not an adverb. This, of course, should be right? And then astonishingly is describing elegance. Elegance is a noun. So this should be an adjective. Astonishing. An astonishing elegance of eggplant is a kind of food, 茄子, but it's also a color. So this is describing the color. And so this should be an adjective. Deep, like we say, light blue, dark red, right? Regular adjectives. So deep eggplant. Next one, curves is a noun. So this should be an adjective. Gentle curves. Real. Real is correct. Real natural outline. Again, I don't know what it means to have a fake natural outline, but the grammar is, it should be a real natural outline. The grammar there is correct. Lining is also a noun. It's talking about how the fabric is joined together. The place where the fabric joins together is the lining. So this should be an adjective. Silky lining. Sorry. Silky lining. Delightful, loud shades of orange. This is correct. In English, sometimes we call a color loud when it is too bright and too obvious, and sometimes it will like hurt your eyes to look at it. And 伤眼. In English, we say that is a loud color. Gives a strong message. This is also correct. Okay, next, softly woven pants. If the word softly is describing how the pants are woven, which is the past participle of weave, which means to stitch together, 缝制, then that would be correct. But no, look at this comma. There's a comma here. 这边有个逗点, right? This comma tells you that both of these words are talking about the same thing. And if woven is talking about the pants, then this word should also be talking about the pants. Pants are a noun, so this should be an adjective. Soft woven pants. This one, a jacket described above. If we already talked about it, then it shouldn't be a jacket. It should be the jacket. We already talked about it. We know which jacket. Okay, questions about this page? All right, next page, 27. It's called mid-sentence adverbs, so it should fit somewhere in the middle of the sentence. Last time I think I mentioned it usually comes before or after the main verb. So these are not the only answers, but these are the best answers. Number 2, Tim is always a hard worker. Number 3, Beth has always worked hard. Number 4, Jack always works hard. Number 5, do you always work hard? Number 6, taxis are usually available at the airport. Number 7, Yusef rarely takes a taxi to his office. Number 8, I have often thought about quitting my sorry, I have a cold. About quitting my job and sailing to Alaska. Number 9, Yuko probably needs some help. Number 10, have you ever attended the show at the Museum of Space? I should talk about the word ever. Ever is the here. Ever is the opposite of never, as you might guess. But the opposite of ever is not never. Not never means at least once. If you have done something at least once, you cannot say you have never done it. So ever means at least once, and it is usually used only in a question or if you take apart the word never. Like if you say, I will not ever do something, you're emphasizing you will never do it. So this is one of the few sentences you will use the word ever. Have you ever? Number 11, Al seldom goes out to eat at a restaurant. Number 12, the students are hardly ever late. Number 13, do you usually finish your homework before dinner? Number 14, in India, the monsoon season generally begins in April. Number 15, during the monsoon season, Mr. Singh's hometown usually receives around 610 centimeters or 240 inches of rain, which is an unusually large amount. Questions about this page? Okay, next page. Here, we need to restrict them. See, look, present tense, simple present tense are. Therefore, this should also be simple present tense. We need to restrict them. Here, you don't need this word being. Cell phones are dangerous is fine, right? Be verb plus adjective. Many studies have proven or proved. These two words, it's regional variation. Some places in the US will say proven, some places in the US will say proved, but it is always the past participle. It's just there are two versions of the past participle. So you don't need to emphasize how it's continuing. You need to, every study is its own study. It is not connected to another study. So you can't say have been proving. A study can only prove something after it is finished. So you only say have proved or have proven this. All those studies don't mean anything. We're on page 28. I feel angry, not angrily, angry, right? How do you feel? Happy, sad, angry, adjectives. This is a mistake that many Chinese speakers will make. Many Taiwanese students will make this mistake. They think you're describing how you feel. No, you're describing the subject, I. So it should be an adjective, not an adverb. Should I use Chinese? 要用中文讲一遍吗？ 你讲情绪的时候，形容的不是你怎么感觉，是在形容你自己本人，所以它不应该是副词，它应该是形容词。Here, his mother doesn't speak English. We're talking about a general situation. So simple present tense. His mother doesn't speak English. This did is correct. This is for emphasis. 的确. This idea sounds crazy. Simple present. If you know how to drive well, you're describing how you drive, so it should be an adverb. This has always been a free country. You don't need this being. Questions? Yes. When you're describing somebody doing an action, feel is not technically an action. It's a word, it's used as a copula, like a be verb. It's used to bring out the adjective. Yeah. I spoke to him angrily about his mistakes. So that's an actual action. Good. Thank you. Other questions? All right. Next page. My neighbor Jeff is why am I reading this? His job is going well in general. Again, this word is describing how it's going. Going is a verb. Is going is a verb. So this should be the adverb well. Many people will say good, but it's not technically correct. Here again, he sounds angry. Here we're supposed to be describing the person. Sound is not a verb. You cannot, well, you can if you're a submarine. Um, to sound as a verb means to use radar to find something. So if you're a submarine, you can sound, but if you're a person, you cannot. Sound is describing what other people hear from you. It is not your action. So this should be an adjective. Angry. He sounds angry. Same thing here. He feels frustrated. Next line. Behave poorly. Bad is the adjective. The adverb is poorly. Behave poorly. They look quiet and innocent. See, it's already giving you a hint. A and B, these two should be the same grammar. So innocent is correct. It's an adjective. So you need to turn this into the adjective quiet. But they don't take their studies seriously. To take something seriously means to treat it in a serious way. In a serious way. Seriously. Questions about this part? Okay, next part. Here, because we almost didn't get, etc. Right? Put it next to the verb. Okay, this one you may not have caught. If you begin a sentence with a word that gives a very limited um, situation, like only, never, rarely, seldom, right? Very limited situations. Reverse the verb and the subject, 倒装句. So only once in the last 10 years have we gotten a refund. Uh, okay, here the word even is talking about the person, Vicky. The idea is that Vicky usually does not get upset, but this time even Vicky got upset. So complicated that even Vicky got upset. Right? You know how calm she is. She usually does not get upset. Here again, rarely, right? So you need to reverse the verb and the subject, but you can't reverse the verb here. You have to add does. Rarely, if ever, does she, and it's does, right? It ends with the S, so you don't need this S. Let me write it down for you. Rarely, if ever, does she take can't spell, criticism. So does comes before she for the reversal. It's not do, right? It's does. So you don't need an S over here. The S has moved to the first verb. Here, Sam has been doing something and so has Toby. Usually we say Toby has two, but here it uses so. It has to be reversed again. So has Toby. Here, this is a mistake many Taiwanese students make. Even, sorry, they even don't have to, right? The even goes with the verb. So they even don't have to, or they don't even have to. Yeah, don't even have to is the better answer. They don't even have to. Okay, this next one is correct, but I want you to pay attention to this. Little, it's another limited situation. Little do those school officials realize. The typical sentence structure is little did he know, which means he did not know. Okay, questions about this page? Before we go on, the one mistake I said that many Taiwanese students make is the difference between these two. What's the difference? Even if and even though. In Chinese, both of them are the same, right? 即使, 即便. But in English, they are different. Look, if, sorry, if means that it hasn't happened. Though means that it has happened. So in the first one, present tense, because it has not yet happened. Right? Even if you fail, right? So you have not failed, you have not passed, we don't know. The second one, past tense, because it has already happened, even though you failed. Okay? This is especially confusing for Taiwanese students because in Chinese, we also use the word even in Chinese, right? Even 他这么说还是怎样怎样. But in English, you have to say, which even are you using? Okay, I guess even though in Chinese, we probably translate as 虽然. Okay, next page. 30. Not only this needs a sentence reversal. Not only is he. Rarely needs a sentence reversal. Rarely will he. The word even is in the wrong place. At times he won't even listen. The word just is in the wrong place. Just is for emphasis, and you are emphasizing the word never. So I just never know. If you put the word just here, then you are emphasizing no. If you say I never just know, that means you always do more than knowing. I never just know. I never only know. It's always more than know. But no, you're supposed to emphasize never. So I just never know. Questions? All right, next part. Most unique means nothing. Unique means different from others. So how can you compare how unique someone is? In this case, the word most is for emphasis. It is not different degrees of unique. Okay, so I think the 6 schools in District 2, this should probably be the other 6 schools in District 2. It doesn't make sense if Sally is from District 1 and they are comparing the cafeterias of District 1 and District 2. That doesn't make sense. It's the other 6 schools in District 2. More good is better. Sally is better. Next one, compared to somebody else. So this is not most, this is more efficiently. Next, if you're wrong, you're wrong. You logically speaking can't be very wrong. This is only for emphasis. It is not a logical comparison. More competent than any other candidate, because Sally herself is a candidate. This is not a word. To add er to make a comparative adjective, the original adjective cannot be longer than 2 syllables. Frequently is an adverb, number one. Number two, it is 3 syllables, so you can't just add er. Is absent more frequently. Next, Sally is very committed. More and more today, we will use the word so to mean very. But that is still considered informal. In more formal contexts, if you use the word so like this, the reader will be expecting the word that. So committed that blah, blah, blah. If you don't have a second half, use very. Okay, more square is fine, but square is only 1 syllable. You can add R. Is will make it squarer. Again, technically speaking, this should not be the best bleachers. It should be better bleachers. It's comparing it to the current equipment. If you use the best in this case, again, it is not logical. It is only for emphasis. Like Donald Trump says, I have the best people. He's not comparing. He's just emphasizing. As we know, he does not have the best people. You don't need 2 of them, right? You can say more funny. You can say funnier. Funnier is the better option. Same here. Smarter. You don't need the more. Anyone, I think else, right? Uh, yes. Sally is part of their class, so it's anyone else in our class. Again, a very perfect, you cannot have different degrees of perfect. If you say very perfect, you are only emphasizing how perfect she is. You're not comparing different kinds of perfect. Speeches are countable, so this should be fewer. Um, and in order to avoid confusion, you should say shorter first. Sally gives shorter and less. Oh, sorry. Okay. Less is correct because it's describing the boring. Sorry about that. Less boring is correct. But shorter should come first to avoid confusion. So shorter and less boring speeches. If you say less boring and shorter speeches, some people might think you mean less shorter speeches. That's not what you want. Less boring is one, shorter is one. So if you have to like take it apart into 2 words, put that one last. Okay, questions about this page? All right, so that's the homework. Let's move on to this week's unit. Prepositions. 介系词. Prepositions are, I think, the fastest moving part of English grammar. We've talked before about how grammar is a natural product of how native speakers use the language, and therefore, like the rest of the language, it changes over time. Prepositions are the fastest changing. I feel like every 5 years, some prepositions change. Um, so I can only give you what, to me, a native speaker, are the current best usages, but they may be a little different from what you read, and they may be a little different from what you encounter later as you enter the workforce. So these are just some general principles. First of all, a preposition can only take two kinds of words after that, two kinds of objects. Most commonly, it takes an adverb of place. So like, uh, go here, go there, that kind of thing. It can also take a noun, put it on the table. Um, and they usually, okay, yeah, so plus a noun. So, sorry, I'm having a hard time thinking up examples today. Nothing special. I always have a hard time thinking up examples. So prepositions are purely descriptive. They describe the place or the time. They add more necessary information to a sentence that is not part of the subject or verb or object. Right? So it fits into if you remember this, it fits into the last part here. Usually you are describing the object. Sometimes you are describing the subject. Like if I say put it over there, eh, put it over, that's not a good word. The book is over there. Right? So I'm describing where the book is. It is not just there, that's the adverb. It is over there, which means there's a space between here and there. There's a bit of a distance. So you're describing the subject. But if in this sentence, doesn't belong here. In this sentence, the preposition is describing the object, book. Where do you want me to put it? Put it on the table. So it could be describing the subject or the object, depending on the situation. In terms of grammar, we call this the object of the preposition. It's what comes after the preposition. That does not matter too much for English, but in some languages, you do have to know that even this is a kind of object. It's just not the object of the main sentence. Now, there is one group of prepositions that is special, and that is the group of prepositions that include the word to. So including into, onto, um, a bit more rare, unto, and then there are others that are even less common, but these are the three most common. Two prepositions can tell you about movement or change. So, for example, she is in the room. It is a static description. Nobody's moving, right? No action. But if you say she goes into the room, then she's moving, right? So if there's movement, you should probably use a preposition with the word to. Now, in some cases, we will omit the to. So, like, she went home. You know there should be a to here, right? Because any other place, you would add the to. She went to school. Only for home do we omit the to. Uh, and if there's another to very soon, we will omit the first two. This should be go to talk, right? Go to the manager. Because there's going to be another to very soon, right? Go to talk to the manager. Sometimes we will just omit the first two. Okay, so that's the general idea of prepositions. Um, I guess another principle I could mention is some people say you cannot end a sentence with a preposition because it is called a preposition. It's supposed to come before a word. That's not true. In some cases, you can end a sentence with a preposition. For example, I don't have anyone to talk to. A perfectly good sentence, kind of sad sentence, but it's a very perfectly fine grammatical sentence. And it ends with the word to, which is a preposition. No problem. But for the word to, you should be careful that you don't mean in order to. This to is in order to. It's technically not a preposition. It is a conjunction, 连接词. So you do have to think about the context sometimes. Usually, not always, but usually to will come after a verb, but not always. So if it comes after a noun, you can consider whether it actually means in order to. Okay, some other interesting preposition facts. Against could mean oppose, or it could also mean uh, pushing on. So, for example, to lean against the wall. Your your body is pushing on the wall. Or sometimes as a metaphor of pushing, to compare you'll sometimes see somebody say compare A against B. But more commonly, this should be compare A to or with B. Oh yeah, speaking of with could mean uh, together with a person. It could be using as in a tool, or it could be together as a category. So I'm with him, which means we two are a group. Um, this book goes with that one, which means these two books are in the same category. I open the book with a knife, which means I'm using the knife as a tool to open the book. Oh, yes. Speaking of two, uh, shout to versus shout at, or throw to versus throw at. These two are very different. To uh, expects an object. If you shout to somebody, you want them to hear you and shout back. You want to communicate. If you shout at someone, at is a direction. There is no object. It's just a direction. So to shout at somebody is to scold them or chastise them, 在骂人. To throw to somebody, you expect that person to catch it. If you throw at somebody, you just want to hit them because at is only a direction. Okay, last one, and this is a reminder. To me is logical. For me is experiential. To me, A is the best choice. For me, A feels like a good idea. Yeah. Right. So two is logical. For is based on experience. Okay, questions? Okay, here's the homework. 31 to, why are we talking about capitalization? Oh, 31 to 33. Homework is 31 to 33. Okay, see you next week.